This podcast is brought to you by Viking Capital, your best friend in swimming pool financing for over 20 years.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Scott Payne, owner of Scott Payne Custom Pools, with offices in Hatfield and Montgomery, Pennsylvania, where he and his firm are designing and building some truly incredible luxury pools and backyards. It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show, Scott.
Joe, thanks so much. It's an honor on our end.
We've been following what you guys are doing over in Pennsylvania for quite a while, and I've been eager to talk to you. But before we get to our conversation, I thought perhaps you'd give us a little bit of a bio about who you are and what Scott Payne Custom Pools is all about.
Yeah, man, thank you. That's a great question. I'm third generation builder in my family. My grandfather was Tony Bosco. He operated a company back in the late 50s through the 60s into the 70s called Tony Bosco Pools. That was a company that dominated the East Coast with commercial pool construction. So, I grew up with concrete on my sneakers from walking where I shouldn't walk. And, unfortunately, he passed away when I was 9 years old. So I never really got a chance to jump into the family business. My mom and dad took it over, and that lasted for about 5 or 6 years into the early 80s when I was in high school. So even through my early adult life, as we kind of sometimes have to find our way, I always thought it would be cool to get into the industry. And I was often asked, one memory sticks out. My little Aunt Rose, grabbed my cheek one day and, "Scotty boy, I'm surprised you never got in the pool business like Pop-Pop." And people just continue to ask me that. And in 2004, I had a chance to abruptly switch careers. I was fired from a sales job, and I had a 1 year no compete, and I was put into a tailspin. And just by a very strange twist of events, a friend of mine was building a pool, and he had just signed a contract with the company, and we had a conversation about my future in the paper and packaging industry. And along came the infamous saying, "Hey, I'm surprised you never got into pool business." And I said, yeah, I get it. And he said, "Listen, I just signed a pool contract with it's one of the national companies." And he said, "You should maybe stop and talk to them. They're always looking for good people." And it sounds corny to say it this way, but it was like the Blues Brothers with the sun coming through the glass in the church and Jake doing backflips. I had a suit on with my resume on the front seat, and I was literally about half a mile from the driveway of this company. And I pulled in, asked for the owner of the company, and he came out and introduced himself. And he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, I think I'm here for a job. And he said, "Do you have any experience?" And I said, "No." And we both laughed. So he said, I love honesty. And I said, "Me too." I said, that's been my problem all along. I can't find an honest company to work for. And I said, "How long you been doing this?" And he said, "About 35 years. I said, "There might be a slim chance you remember my Pop-Up." He's like, "Hey, who was that?" And I said, "It was Tony Bosco." And he said, "My God, your Pop-Up was a legend." And that was it. I was head first into the pool industry. And I stayed with them for about 9.5 years, became one of the top producing salesmen in our region, top producing through that company. Shortly after the Lehman Brothers crash, I had to make a decision, and it was either get out of the pool industry for a little bit or lose everything that I had worked for. So I ended up going, actually taking a full-time job, but still ran pool leads at night. I stayed with that company for a little. And then I went to work for a small custom company local to me with the intention of buying into it. One of the partners was going to retire. I was there about 2.5 years, and that wasn't working out. So August of 2014, we started Scott Payne Custom Pools. And it's just been an awesome ride. We've we've grown as a company. We're an 8-figure revenue company now with about 25 employees. It's a little different than me driving around in a van back in 2014 and 2015 by myself, doing everything. So we're very proud of the journey here, and we're also not done. We're going to continue to grow and hire good people.
So, I mean, 2014 to now is quite a journey for you. You don't just build pools. To my understanding, your firm handles all the major facets of an outdoor living project, from the pool to the hardscape, the patio, to building pool houses and pavilions, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. I mean, you name it. It sounds like you guys do pretty much everything that you need in the backyard except the grass. Is that right?
We'll do the grass. We'll do artificial turf if you want. So we do. And there's a reason behind it. And over my career, I saw the disconnection with some of the companies I worked for and some of the industry. So when we set up the model of Scott Payne Custom Pools, it was to be different, number one, and it was also to be inclusive. And the challenges I saw with the other companies were, you're expecting a client who's spending a lot of money with you to GC their own project. That never ends well. So we vertically aligned with carpenters and landscapers and hardscapers, and we created a very good sub base until we could have the revenue to move forward and bring that in-house. So now most of that work is in-house for us. We employ Scott Payne Outdoors as our sister company. We have 4 full-time carpenters in that company. We also we can landscape in-house. We can hardscape in-house. We can do fence in-house. We have a landscape architect on staff. So there's a benefit to it, and the customers appreciate it. They want to write one check to one person. They don't want to manage anything. They're busy people. They're professionals, lawyers, attorneys, doctors, business owners, and just like you and I are in our respective businesses, we're busy. I don't want to deal with any of that.
Being a one-stop shop, so to speak, I mean, does that tend to put you at the top of the list for homeowners who are looking for a design build firm that can handle pretty much everything in the backyard?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I say every appointment, 9 out of 10, it comes up. That's what we want. You do everything, right? Yes, that's what we want. And it just reinforces a decision. I have a silly rule, and that is if someone asks me more than 3 times for something, I explore it just to see what it would take to become fluent in it. Example, we do sport courts. We're a dealer for VersaCourt. Little plug there. Now we're one of the top distributors on the East Coast for VersaCourt. We do X-Grass for putting greens. We do Danbury Outdoor Cabinetry. So there's just such a benefit to being that person, and just having all that in our back pocket. We're a Generac dealer. We do generators. Why? People ask for them, or they had bad experiences with their existing contractor. They complained about it. So we got licensed. We're an authorized Generac dealer. We'll do 50 to 60 generators this year. It makes sense. We're already there. We have an electrician there, and we have a gas guy there. All we need is a generator. So that it's really helped us grow the company, bottom line and reputation.
Well, you're doing a lot of things that distinguish you from other pool builders in your local market. And I think one of the major things that you've done is that you've taken the time to thoroughly educate yourself in this field. I mean, you're SWD registered and a Genesis member. Pool builders take these classes to kind of help them elevate their skills and build better pools. What in particular did you learn from those classes that allowed you to come home to Pennsylvania and dominate your own local market?
Man, that's a powerful question. Made a promise when I started the company to forget everything I knew, because I didn't know what I knew and didn't know what I didn't know. And I was taught things, through a national builder who was very high volume to a smaller custom guy. And everybody had the same sentiment. And that was, this is how we've always done it. Never said if it was right or wrong or justified. I developed a relationship when I was at the national company with Kevin Ruddy from Omega Structures. And Kevin at the time was entrenched in Genesis with Tisherman and Skip Phillips and Brian Van Bauer. And we had this amazing friendship. And he kept telling me when I was at the national company to, come to a class, you'll love it. Joe, I just thought it was such an oxymoron because everything that this company stood for was not what Genesis stood for. Right. And there was just no sense because it was going to benefit me, but it was never going to get down to my customer. It was never going to trickle down. So literally, I think the day that I started my company, I called Kevin Ruddy and I said, "Hey, I'm ready. What do I do?" And he connected me with the office at Genesis. The first class I took was October of 2015 in Baltimore, Maryland. It was a pool studio class that it was a Master Pool Guild event. So it was at a very nice hotel. And I didn't have a laptop. I did my pool studio on a desktop. So I brought my desktop. I literally brought my CPU, brought my monitor, my keyboard and my mouse, got a hotel room. And I walked into class the first day with my monitor in one hand, the CPU under the other arm. And it brought like looks and laughter. And I set it up on a table where everybody set their laptops up. And that was it. I was hooked. And I'm very proud to say that I completed my SWD 150 hours of education all over the country inside of 2 years. Well, I was consumed by it. I was a sponge. The core that is now left, Dave Peterson and Bill Drakely and Rick Chafee and Paulo, these guys all took me under their wing. And, now we've since, transparently transitioned to Watershape University in their IWI program. And it separates us. We can talk about things that no other builder in this area can talk about. We've learned color theory. We've learned design. We've learned construction methods. We've learned about architecture. We've learned about all the relevant things. We're not the company that comes in with a template sheet with shapes on it and says, "Here, I have 3 of these left. Which one do you want?" So it's a separator for us. And I'm not done. We're gonna be flying around the country here over the next couple months. Some events you guys will be out in Vegas, and I'm a sponge. I absolutely love that education.
Absolutely. I mean, building a pool in Pennsylvania in particular is quite a bit different than building in, say, California or Texas. I mean, some of the things that you learn there, if you had to isolate what's different about that process, I mean, what would you say is different building pools in the Northeast than in other regions of the country?
I think consistency of state, county, township regulations do not exist in PA. Everybody thought this was going to go the other way, right? It's a state that every township has its own set of rules. So literally, we build in probably 40 townships in a 75-mile square area, right. 50, 100, I don't even know. We build in a lot of townships. Everyone has different rules. Everyone has different regulations. They require different things. I have a full-time person that all they do is permits. They expedite engineering, they download forms, they fill forms out. It's what they do all day.
And things change like every year, right, Scott? So it's kind of like a moving target for them, right?
Stormwater management has become very prevalent in the past 10 years in almost every township. It costs the customer, it could be an additional $5,000 to $15,000, depending on how big the devices are. It's really gotten very technical, and we've had to educate ourselves in it because we can then speak to the client and give them accurate information. Right. We take over a lot of projects. We get people frustrated with other builders that call us up and say, "We've had it. We talked to you 6 months ago, and it looked like you were a little bit more money, so we decided to try and go the other way." Now we understand.
When they're trying to save that money, it comes back to them, and they feel it in other ways. I mean, across the country, the cost for building a pool has increased substantially. I mean, during the beginning of the pandemic, some of the prices for like raw materials like wood and concrete just went bananas. I mean, how do you cope with all of those price increases during that time frame, and what did you tell your customers?
There's a sadness to it. I have to be honest. We had a base pool that we sold all day, every day, pre-COVID and at the start of COVID. Thinking, COVID basically was unveiled March of 2020. So we had already completed our 2020 cost book, and that base pool was $59,000. It was $59,997. The base price of that pool today is about $84,000.
Right.
It's at the identical margin. We're not making a penny more on that pool. We educate the client, and we explain it just like I did. We also have transparently, we have accelerators in our contract, that if materials or vendor manufacturer increases go over a certain percentage, that we're going to share in the increase. We've passed on fuel surcharges for about the past year. Fortunately, in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware, where we build, fuel prices are coming down. They're not back where they were, a year and a half, 2 years ago, but it's getting better. I don't know if those surcharges go away or not, but I think it's just important just to be very honest and transparent with the customer. And we tell them, if we don't raise these prices, or we don't get what we're entitled to, we're not going to be in business. You're not going to have a warranty. You're not going to have somebody to call, because nobody can go upside down $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 in every pool. It's
Absolutely.
impossible.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound like, prices have equalized to pre-COVID levels yet in your market. I mean, are things still crazy where you are? I mean, do you think we'll ever level out where with prices go back down to the way things they were pre-COVID? I mean, what do prices for an in-ground custom pool look like in like 5 years?
My God, I have my price books from, the other companies I work for. It's, if you think it was fiction, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, listen, we do a Q&A. If you call our office, we have about 15 questions we ask the prospect to make sure that they're a fit, and we ask budget. We actually reinforce it twice in the Q&A. We give them ranges, and if they don't respond favorably to the one range, we click it down to the next range. Then we have an explanation that we might not be the company for them. I would say it this direct. I feel in this market with a nicely optioned pool, which we can get into a later question, the things everybody should have and should want, but not every company explains that up front. Some like to explain it after you're already a customer. You're going to spend $100,000. It's almost unavoidable. Are there $70,000 pools out there? There are. We just don't build them transparently. It's probably not a good fit for us, because I have a joke, Mr. Trusty, would you like water with your pool? Yeah. Right. You'd be surprised at the number of companies that don't include it. Yeah. And when you say that to the customer, they sit back in their chair like you get 7 heads. But it's the truth. We're as this at times is our industry, as sad as it makes me, it hasn't had the best reputation. And some of it's for the deceptive sales that some people still try and do. But I see our average copy, I'm proudly to say, is around $150,000 per project. And when I say project, they're landscaping in there, there's fence in there if needed. Sometimes there's pavilion structures, as you alluded to earlier, outdoor kitchens. But I see it continuing to go up. I don't see any of the large manufacturers rescinding pricing or holding prices for the next 3 years to help it even out. Everybody's on the up train. There's nothing we can do.
Well, I mean, in setting expectations with these customers who are looking for that type of sophisticated outdoor living environment, that's like the complete pool picture that they saw on Pinterest. I mean, what do you tell them about prices, timelines, and availability of materials, given the current climate that we're in? The pool's never going to get cheaper than it is right now.
No, we have a capacity model that we try and stick to. We divide projects into A, B's, and C's. A projects being pool spa only, deck, simple landscape. B's would be a little more complexity where we have larger, rock waterfall with a slide combo, something that's going to take time. With your experience in the industry, that most everything is a 1-day phase. It should be. We're going to dig a pool in a day. We're going to steel a pool in a day. We're going to shoot a pool in a day, plumb it, et cetera, et cetera. Where you start getting the log jams are that you have a rock waterfall. It's going to take 3 weeks to build. You're going to have a structure. It's going to take a month to build out, or 3,000 foot of paver decking that the guys lay 300 foot a day. There's 10 days. So we have a model, and I've said this a couple times in the interview. We're just upfront and transparent with people. Here's where you're at. Sometimes it goes back to the township. We have townships that I could have a permit in 2 weeks that don't require any engineering. I have townships that take 5 months. We have customers we've had anniversaries with, we've had birthdays with, because they were 5 months through a township and they have a 5, 6, 7 month build, and we went through the winter, stretch it out even more.
That's great information coming from one of the top pool builders in Pennsylvania. It's certainly important to know if you're thinking about building a pool in PA. What I'd really like to know, Scott, is what you love about designing people's backyards and what first motivated you to choose this line of work to begin with.
Just for me, it's satisfaction. I'm a designer in my mind. I'm a sketch guy. I have a pen in my hand right now I'm fumbling with, and I like the satisfaction. I like to see that what we started with and how we got there, honestly. And then I'll tell you, there was times during the first 5 years of this company that, man, it was tough. I did everything. I was truly the CEO. I was the chief everything officer. It's hard to say that one of the most satisfying things that happened that kept me going was the first time I got a finished video from a customer of the first jump in, like 4 or 5 kids or 3 kids. They're all standing on the edge of the pool and they count. I had tears running down my face the first one I got. And then I got another one. I save them. Next time I see you, I'll show you some. And man, it makes it all worth it, right? That's why I'm here. I'm here to provide a party at some point, right? I always say this: you're not buying the process, you're buying a product. The process is horrible. It's like hip replacement. I don't want to go to PT. I don't want to be in the hospital, but I want to dance. All right. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to tear your yard up for 6 weeks, 6 months, hopefully not 6 years. Right. But you're going to have that one party, your first party, your second party. You're going to remember Scott Payne Custom Pools. And that's why I do this, to answer your question.
Well, that's great. I mean, you've been doing this, 8 years now, and you had the opportunity to work on some amazing projects, both as the point and as a collaborator with other builders. I mean, surely by this point, you must have a couple of projects that stand out in your mind. Give me a few that have made your own personal highlight reel.
Yeah, so I'll talk about a couple. I was approached about a lazy river in Hillsborough, New Jersey, residential lazy river in a backyard. And these people, I just kind of fell in love with. And so it was out of my skill set. And I went back to my Watershape University boys and asked a lot of questions. And it started with a hand sketch. It's right behind me right now. And over the next year, we built that pool. And it's a 1,500 square foot residential lazy river with a couple river flow systems on it. And it's got a slide and a waterfall, and it's Wally World. And I'm so proud of it because of the challenge, and it works. We had a rule. We have a rule inside Watershape. The most beautiful pools in the world aren't beautiful if they don't function properly. So it works, and that's what I was really proud of. We've done some amazing projects. We had a chance to do a negative edge in a very rural setting with no construction prints. So we basically went out and painted this shape and dug it and then steeled it and we hydraulically engineered the project. Don't everybody go into panic mode. But we did it without a print, really. We just did it with detailed knowledge, and that project's just amazing. But there's one that sticks out in my mind, and when you hear the end of the story, you'll kind of chuckle. And so I think I was in business about 2 years, and our name got out, and I was called out on a job. And it was during this time of the year where it's still very hot out, and the woman's name was Rachel. And I walked in the backyard, and there was 4 kids playing, and they were all fairly young, maybe 10 and younger. So I always ask, do you have a wish list? What are you thinking? And I tend to zip my mouth and let them talk. And she was rolling through this wish list, and it was a fairly modest house. And I got to a point, after like the 10th item, and I threw my hand up like I just did. And I said, do you have a target budget that you'd like to stay within? And the number that she threw out was not going to get this done. So I politely start to excuse myself and say, listen, you're probably more of a vinyl pool client than a gunite construction. She gets mad. She's pissed. She's upset. And I listened to her, and she has a story, and she says, I went through this hard divorce, and I have these kids, 100% custody. And there was a settlement with my ex, and that money's going to the kids. I'm putting in a pool, and you're going to put it in for me. And I said, okay. And all of a sudden I pictured my mom with my sister and I struggling. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm a marketing guy. You're a marketing guy. So this pool's on a main road with Merck, everybody's heard of. They probably take a Merck drug right around the corner. So I'm going to get some good foot traffic. And I figure if I get 1 or 2 calls out of my sign being in this woman's front yard, then my generosity is going to go a long way. So I asked her, I said, can you stretch? And she said, yeah, I can stretch. And I said, okay, I'm going to bend. You stretch, I bend. We're going to do this together. So the township that this pool was in I have some friendships in the building zoning department, and I get a permit within 7-10 days. So here I go. We go in the backyard, and they're going to swim. This is about, once again, we're at, late August, September 1st is today, right? So it's late. It's probably August, and I'm going to get them swimming. They're going to swim sometime in September in my mind. At that time, our average project was, 6 weeks or under, 5 weeks or under. So we dig this thing on a Monday. We steel it on Tuesday. It gets inspected Tuesday afternoon. We stub plumb it on Wednesday. We shoot it on Thursday. Friday afternoon, sitting, kind of doing my week wrap up, and my phone rings. It's Rachel. And she goes, hi. She's very pleasant. She goes, hi, I'm impressed, yada, yada, but I have a problem. And I said, lay it on me. She goes, my toilet's backed up. So I chuckle like you are right now. Right. And I said, okay, I don't really know a plumber, but I'll help however I can. And she goes, no. She goes, I think it has something to do with the pool. And I said, well, what toilet's backed up? She goes, the upstairs bedroom. And I said, Rachel, I don't see how that could be possible. She goes, I'd feel more comfortable if you come down. So, okay. So I get my boots back on and take 10, 15-minute drive and walk in the yard. And there's her brother who knows everything about everything. Right. And he says, I think you hit the sewer line. And I said, no, the sewer line's in the front yard. And he says, I don't think so. So it turns into a little bit of an argument now. We're finger pointing and I'm like, listen, I was here for the dig. There's no sewer line. I have pictures. There's no sewer line. I don't know. The toilet's backed up. All the toilets are backing up now. So cooler heads prevail. And I start walking around the pool, and I walk through her backyard, and I walk through the neighbor's yard, and I walk another yard over. And guess what I find? I find a sewer grate, and I line my arm up like I am now, like I'm doing a golf shot. and
Yeah.
it goes right through the middle of the pool. So I walk back in the house and I said, can we go in the basement? So sure enough, we go down the basement and the sewer line is leaving the basement at about 7 foot deep. It's under the pool, and somebody, my excavator, more than likely, nicked it. Gunite comes in, gunite shoots it. They probably shot in that area, and the concrete just seeped into the pipe. So there's a Marriott around the corner. I get them a room, and I call my excavator, who at the time was also doing some plumbing for me. And I said, can you do me a favor? Can you bring the Mini X and meet me at that job? It's Friday afternoon. I go, what are you doing? He's like, what do you think I'm getting ready to do? I'm ready to drink beer. Right? I go, why don't you meet me at this job? So he and I, over the next 5-6 hours into the wee dark, dig down the front side of this pool. We find the pipe. Sure enough, it's broke. We find the break. Now I have to make a decision. Do I fix it or do I move it? The pool's parked on top of this pipe.
Right.
I do the right thing. We dig all the way around the deep end of the pool. We demo the equipment that was already set. Once again, this pool is on record pace. We connect it, if you can imagine, almost like a question mark. We connect it on the other side to the lateral going 3 yards down. All right, we dig the hole. My guy comes in on Monday. He plumbs it. He puts clean outs in it. We get it inspected. We backfill it. We reset the equipment, which is now junk. We had to redo all the plumbing, pay for that twice. We tile the pool. We coat the pool. We put the deck on the pool. We still built the pool in 28 days.
Wow.
It cost me $8,500 for that mistake. And honestly, the way that our contract's written, what's in the ground's yours. It's not mine.
Right.
I don't know what's in your ground. I didn't charge her a penny. And that story sticks out to me as a win, as setting the expectation at that point. We're going to do things the right way, right? It's not about money. It's about integrity. And sure enough, guess what? People saw my sign. They started calling, right? I had no customers at that point. I was hand to mouth. Every lead was important. I worked every one till they either threw me out or they said yes. That's probably my favorite project, man.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Scott. I mean, it's funny, but you can always remember those moments that stand out in our career and define what we do and why we do it. What's on the horizon for you in 2023? Any new projects that you're excited about and looking forward to?
Joe, we're blessed. I mean, our phone rings every day. I mean, we have some great projects lined up. We've established ourselves with some new home builders. So we're doing a lot of new home construction with pools going in at the same time, which is a win for everybody. Couple pieces of news not a lot of people really know. We've committed to a South Jersey division. That division is going to run out of Sea Isle, New Jersey. We expect to develop the same reputation along the Jersey shore that we have in Pennsylvania. So my wife and I, Tara, we've put that together over the past couple months, and we're starting to permit some pools down there, and then we're going to kind of do an unveiling.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's a great growth area for us. That area means a lot to us personally, and I think the area struggled in recent years because of the growth, and some of these pool companies are at capacity. So we're going to go down there and do it the Scotty Payne way. We've brought fiberglass back into the mix inside Scott Payne Custom Pools. We are proudly a dealer for leisure. So that's in the works now. I'm fairly certain we're going to operate that under Scott Payne Fiberglass Pools. But we're blessed, man. I can't ask for any more. We're going to keep our foot on the gas and keep growing and hiring great people, talent, and setting the bar in the PA, Jersey, Delaware area.
Right on. I mean, trade show season coming up. You going to Las Vegas this year for the PSP Duck Expo?
I will be able to hug you in Las Vegas. I will be in Phoenix for the Master Pool Guild annual meeting the end of October. I'm looking at some stuff already. We're going to be in Atlantic City. We're the home team for that, but I'm also looking at some other stuff education wise, trying to stay in touch with my water shape Padres. Dave Peterson's doing a class in September out in California. I might surprise them and go out and sneak out for a day.
Oh, nice. Well, we'll be at a few of those things. I'll be at Pi in Monterey, be in Vegas with you, and I'll probably see you again in Atlantic City as well.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to give you a hug, man.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thanks so much for spending the time with us today, Scott, and just sitting around and talk shop with us. I really appreciate you just checking in with us, man.
Dude, I'm absolutely my pleasure. Pool Magazine is the best thing out there. Anybody that's not subscribed, please get subscribed. This thing is legit, and it's the most amazing industry information we have out there.
Pool builders need a reliable financing partner they can trust, one that understands the challenges and obstacles they're facing each and every day. Viking Capital has been working shoulder to shoulder with pool builders across the nation for over 2 decades. When it comes to your customers, you want to make financing easy, transparent, and as turnkey as possible. This is where Viking Capital is not only the strongest ally pool builders have, but where we excel at finding the lowest rate possible for your clients. There are many different options when it comes to offering financing for your customers, but the choice is a clear one. Viking Capital offers the kind of personalized attention, focus, and dedication that pool builders expect from their financing partner. If you've been looking to establish a relationship with a partner that understands pool builders and truly gets it, Viking Capital is without a doubt the firm you should be dealing with to finance your pools.